what is the cost, though, to the system? If they're not getting the help that they need when they need it, what's the cost to law and enforcement?
Mhm.
What's it to urgent care systems? What's to society?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Airdrie Inside. I am your host, Chris Glass, and I am here with Kim Titus from the Thumbs Up Foundation. Kim Titus, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. We're happy to be here.
Well, I'm really excited to have you on the show to tell your story and to tell us about the great work that you're doing with the Thumbs Up Foundation. But I want to start off by talking about an event I was at a little over a month ago now, I think, where Fleischer was playing, and it was called One More Light, and it was just such an excellent event, and it was all in the Thumbs Up Foundation's name.
Yeah. They're amazing. We love them, and we're grateful that they love us too.
Right.
And so it was their fifth time of having the event and their fourth time in support of Thumbs Up, fourth year. And we're bonded through our love of music and through our experience with suicide.
Yeah. And I wanted to talk about the music first because I love seeing our artists rally around your organization. I was at an event in the summer that was chock full of musical talent in support of the Thumbs Up Foundation. So it's great to see everybody rallying behind you.
Well, when we started Thumbs Up, we consciously decided to focus on the way Braden lived.
Yeah.
And not how he left. And how he lived was through a love of music. He was a big foodie. He loved nature, had a chocolate lab Rio, and so all of that, we decided because we fundamentally believe that's how we're going to change the world, is changing the energy.
Right.
That we need to turn the music up, get the good food out, and bring people together to change a world that needs changing.
Right. I love hearing good music and good food. Those are two things that hit my heart really close. You mentioned your son. Why don't we start there? Because I believe that's the genesis of the Thumbs Up Foundation. So why don't you tell me a little bit about your son?
Sure. He's someone we always love to talk about.
Right.
And I'm sorry that you never got the chance to meet him because he touched the lives of everyone he met. And so his story was, he was 31 years old, born in Airdrie. I like to say this, he came into the world in a rather spectacular way. The night he was born, we'd had some friends over. He has two older brothers, and we had some friends, and Kim had a couple of beers, much to my chagrin. And so I'm like, it's time to go. We got to go.
No.
So we got stopped for speeding on Main Street in Airdrie by the RCMP. There was no Peter Lougheed in those days. So he came over, and the police officer Kim's like, my wife's having a baby. So he came over, and he's like, and I'm like, yeah, we got to go. So he drove us, lights flashing, sirens, everything, all the way to Foothills. We ran every red light between Main Street, Airdrie, and Foothills Hospital.
Which back then there's like 3 lights in Airdrie. So,
yeah, but a lot lot more in Calgary.
Right.
6, right? And when we got there, he said, give me your keys. I'll park your car. You go. And so we did. And when he brought the keys back, brought his card and said, in case it's a boy and you want to name him after me.
Oh, wow.
Amazing. I never get miss an opportunity to tell that story to first responders. And I told one the other day, and he's like, that would not happen today.
No.
Right. And and then he left in a spectacular way.
Right.
Different police force, Calgary police that time. We would not have made it through the day without him.
Right.
That's as primal as I've ever got or ever hoped to be. And one of the words that has been introduced to me since was transfigured. When people go through an event like that, that means to never return to the original state of being, and that your whole view of the world shifts as a result of. And so we I individually, we as a husband and wife and our family was transfigured by that event. And that set us on a path and a purpose that we need to change the world. When 6 foot 190-pound men fall through the cracks,
There's some
we can
pretty
do
big
better.
cracks.
Yeah, we can do better. And that set us on the mission.
Now, I'm always blown away by people who take personal tragedies, and this is definitely a personal tragedy, and turn it into something so positive and something that can give back so much. We were talking about Michelle Bates from the Airdrie Health Foundation off camera, another person who went through something traumatic and turned it into something quite positive. Talk to me about, you used the word transfigured. Talk to me about that process.
Well, the process itself was to sit in the grief and process it.
Yeah.
And unpack what grief means. It means it's a little word that packs a lot of emotions, sorrow, regret, loss,
Yeah.
right? And so getting in touch with that, and then also remembering the essence of the man himself.
Yeah.
And he was his character. And I know that he would, if we surrounded ourselves only in our grief and kind of wrapped it around us like a warm winter coat, he would kick our ass.
Yeah.
He would, and say, this is not what I want you to focus on. And so I know people think of it as strength, or it's not. It's a way of honoring him, and honoring the people who struggle, to say it doesn't have to be this way. And so that's why we do what we do.
Wow. And then that turned into the Thumbs Up Foundation. So how did the idea for Thumbs Up come about?
Well, in the beginning, I was just phoning God and everybody, saying we need to make some changes.
Right.
Head of Alberta Health Services, et cetera, anybody who would take my call and persist with those who didn't want to first time around. And then Susan, my good friend Susan, she used to be my boss back in the day, said to me, you need to start a foundation.
Yeah.
And I said, I am too busy phoning God and everybody, and I wouldn't even know the first way to start a foundation. And she said, that's what I'm for.
Huh.
So we blame her.
Okay.
And she, it hasn't been an easy journey. We've been pushing a very, very big and heavy boulder uphill. We don't fit in easily into a box, which is part of why we're grateful for you to extend an invitation to us, because we're not a food bank. We're not trying to build a hospital. We're not trying to work with the homeless. We're trying to change the system.
Yeah.
And that is, I say this, we're kind of how we paraphrase it is helping heal healthcare.
Yeah.
And I've said this in other rooms, is if you don't know that healthcare needs some healing, I want your life.
Yeah. But I think you bring up such an interesting point about not fitting into a box, because a lot of times when we think about fixing healthcare, we think of building a hospital, we think of ambulance response times, we think of how long it takes for a knee replacement or a hip replacement. Mental health is really such a hidden area of healthcare. And, it's funny, even when you go to work, right, you can take a sick day for having COVID. You could take a sick day if you break your arm, but taking a mental health day really doesn't fit into the sickness bucket, if you will, for a lot of employers. So a lot of people fight through it and end up putting themselves at risk. What do you see the system needing to do?
That's
I know
a
that's
loaded question.
We have a lot of time on the show, and the less I talk, the better. So I like to ask powerful questions.
Yeah, that's a hugely loaded question, and thank you for asking it. So in 2019, we did a mental health task force. So Thumbs Up funded it. We were the catalyst for it, and we brought together RCMP, Rocky View School Division, primary care, the mayor sat on. And we were very, very fortunate to have a Dr. Tom Feasby, who his background is neurology, and he's a past dean of the Cummings School of Medicine, facilitate it for us. So we worked together for a year. One of the things that Thumbs Up insisted on, because that's who we are, is the people, is that we would survey the community. Because we thought Airdrie's pretty typical demographic, maybe slightly younger demographic than a typical, but pretty typical. And so when we surveyed the community, 50% of them told us that their needs were either not being addressed or were being inadequately addressed. So everything we do, that's a part of our approach as well, is not to, we got to overhaul, start it all from the beginning, or, scratch. It's keep doing the 50% that we're doing well. And let's focus on the room for improvement in the other 50%.
Yeah.
And that's the space that we take up. In the beginning, since we started Thumbs Up, people were reaching out. And I had, when we did the mental health task force, someone that sat around the table said, "Why are they calling you?" And I'm like, that might be a question y'all might want to ask yourself.
Yeah.
Why aren't they calling you?
Yeah.
Because we're not a service provider. We're an advocacy group trying to change a system.
Yeah.
And so in many cases, you've had them. And they haven't found, 50% of them told us that they haven't found the help and the support that they needed. Right. I say this, if you had a restaurant in your town and you had a 50% chance of getting a good meal.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't go back to that restaurant.
Right. You certainly wouldn't take your company there if they're visiting from out of town.
Yeah, you're right.
that kind of thing. So it's that we can do better. Right. It's not to villainize and demonize the good works that the other organizations and approaches are doing. It's we can do better. And so, the best way I can explain Thumbs Up is a Desmond Tutu quote.
Okay.
And he says, there comes a time when we need to stop pulling people out of the river. And we need to go upstream and find out why they're falling in the first place. And that's I can't think of a better way to describe Thumbs Up is yes, we work with people who reach out. We're not a service provider.
Yeah.
But we need to know broader than our own personal lived experience.
Yeah.
And it's sadly all too common. It's very prevalent. It is here in our alive and well, and I use that term loosely, in our community.
Yeah.
It's not as visible perhaps as other communities, but we have our issues in the community, and we can do better.
So that is how Thumbs Up started. Mm-hmm. And you're an advocacy group looking to change the system. Mm-hmm. What are some changes you'd like to see? Well,
we've been very, very fortunate. I want to give a shout out to MLA Pitt. She's been very helpful. Her and Braden actually went to school together.
Oh, yeah. I coach her son over at George Mac.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. Shout out Brady. You made the show.
Another Braden.
Yeah. No, Brady.
Oh, Brady.
Yeah.
But yes,
but still
roots
close.
in that.
Yes, it's close.
Well, there were those that called our Braden Brady as well. So, but she was very instrumental in helping shine a light on us and the world, what we were trying to change. We've received over $1 million of funding from the government to test whether our approach to care produced better outcomes or not. And so, as I said, we're not a service provider. What we do is approach mental health with a hub and spoke mentality. And our where we're trying to get to is to build a brain center, which will be the hub. We're right now at the early stages of entering into an agreement with the Veterans Association of Calgary. They approached us because they say their words, not mine, they don't get them off the hamster wheel. Yeah. And they are so appreciative of the work that we've done in testing our system. We've have it professionally evaluated to very good outcomes. And they want us to teach them how to fish in our harmonized health pool and embed that into their infrastructure.
Right.
So we're just currently trying to raise the funds to take that initiative on, both them doing it and us doing our own. We have the University of Calgary on standby because we're looking to have someone take it on as a research project as well. Excellent. In terms of because it's not just about when you're talking about systemic change, it's not just about cost, and it's about value for clients, participants.
Yeah.
But also what's the cost benefit savings. So if you're moving it upstream, then what's the downstream savings?
Yeah.
Right. And one of the statistics that we use is mental health and lost productivity, which you alluded to earlier about mental health days, etc., is a $51 billion opportunity within the country.
Wow.
About $2.5 billion in Alberta, based on population, $6.5 billion for veterans. And so it's that, what's the cost benefit saving if we move upstream and we have a government right now that's very focused downstream. And my language, I only know one way to speak, kind of straight at, but is we're focused on the wrong end of the horse. Yes, we need to, but we know what comes out of that. Let's move upstream and let's put treatment centers out of business.
Yeah.
There's an idea, right? I mean, it's grandiose, obviously, but I'm being facetious when I say it, but it's that we don't want people, because we have a system that's very focused on sick care.
Yeah.
Acute care.
Yeah.
And there's some of it, mental health and addiction being one, it's a chronic illness. So where does that fit in? And when are we going to move upstream and start to change it so that, we have a crisis now from COVID, and we're starting to see that in terms of populations, younger and younger kids that, have been impacted by it because the world was crazy there for a while.
Yeah.
Right? Human connection, the brain research shows human connection is a big part of keeping meaningful human connection is a big part of keeping our brains healthy. Music is a big part of keeping our brains healthy. Nature is a big part of keeping our brains healthy. All of those. So let's incorporate that into the system, and still doing the acute care when it needs to.
Yeah.
But that's not the focus. If we move it upstream, what could happen?
Well, it's just like anything, right? You fix your car. You do the preventative maintenance on your car, you don't have an engine failure, right? So do you want to spend $20,000 getting a new engine, or a new vehicle, or do you want to spend the $30 getting your oil changed all the time?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's about that awareness and education. There's so much opportunity to just, I was at a mental health kind of symposium, and they had a panel that was talking about it, because it's a hot topic to talk about.
Yeah.
And say we've done a much, much better job of, removing, and I don't use the word stigma. There's a reason for that, but removing stigma, so that people will actually talk about it, etc. But she said, but what hasn't kept pace is the services.
Yeah.
Right. Part of when we wear our advocacy hat, is that why can I take my Alberta healthcare card to my family? If health is health, and there's equality between physical and mental health, which we all talk that talk now. If there is equality, how come I can take my healthcare card to my family physician, but I can't take it to my counselor?
Yeah.
It's the number two cost is the number two reason why people don't seek help.
Yeah.
Right. And so what is the cost though to the system if they're not getting the help that they need when they need it? What's the cost to law and enforcement? Mm-hmm. What's it to urgent care systems? What's to society? What's the cost of not paying for that? Right.
Yeah. And it's funny that we sit around and talk about costs like it's dollars and cents. And in a lot of ways it is. And I understand that side of it, but these are people we're talking about.
Yes.
Right. And that can't really be measured. That's not something you could put a price tag on. If somebody loses their life due to suicide, there's not a price you can put on that. So, there's a whole nother cost to it that's not being considered
100%.
at all.
And that's one of the things that I say. I don't know what's the cost of a human life these days, right? And I've talked to people who were trying to engage them to help us change the world, and it's like, is one suicide enough? I mean, the numbers are going like this, so at what point in time do we get attention? Because it's not just speaking in the language of dollars and cents. It's the human cost. It's the emotional cost. It's the wreckage, right? That what's left in the wake when these things happen, and suicide being the extreme end of it. But I talk to families almost daily who are, in fact, I talked to a woman last week, and I said to her, I'm overwhelmed hearing your story. I can't imagine what it is living that. And so how can we help?
Yeah.
Right. And so that's a part of what we do. So their stories now become interwoven into the fabric of ours. Right. Their stories are as tragic and overwhelming and as Braden's.
Yeah.
The outcomes are different at this point in time. But that's why we need to change the world.
Yeah. I want to pick on something you said there because I think it was interesting. You talked about stigma and you don't like to use that word. Tell me why.
I'm happy to. Thanks for asking. So early on with Thumbs Up, we were at an event in Calgary. I think it was Drug Overdose Awareness Day or something. We were invited to it. And there was, I don't know, 5, 6, 8 keynote speakers, kind of guest speakers speaking. And I should say this, in my other life, prior to losing Braden, I used to write poetry.
Okay.
And so even though I've been known on occasion to have a bit of a potty mouth, words are really important to me. And it's, that is poetry, trying to make the most impact with the fewest amount of words. And that night Kim and I heard stigma. And I'm like, what is this word stigma? I think I know, but do I? And so after went searching, and stigma is identified or is described as a stain or a mark of disrespect on someone's character or reputation.
Yeah.
And so that would say, if I were to accept that there is stigma, this is just how I process it, if I were to accept that there was stigma around suicide, I would have to accept that there's a mark or a stain of disrespect on Braden's character or reputation. And I don't, and I won't. Right? And so we use these words and we do that, and it becomes the norm, and we just bandy this around. It's like, and then Buddha told us, if someone presents us with a gift and we don't accept it, then to whom does the gift belong?
Yeah.
And so if we don't accept the gift of stigma, sometimes we are stigmatizing people who may not feel stigmatized.
Right.
But we're telling them they should be, because you're homeless or you have addiction or and their stigma is like, is there? There doesn't have to be, right? It could be a situation. And I know other people have a different context of the word stigma, but that's kind of how I process it. And so, and I had a conversation about this early on with Thumbs Up. And a woman said to me, well, if you don't use stigma, what do you use? And I'm like, great question.
Well, that was going to be my next question.
Yeah. Okay. Well, great question.
Perfect. You said that 3 times. So I think I'm doing my job as an interviewer today.
I use the word fear.
Yeah.
I use the word ignorance in the truest sense of the word, meaning lack of information and knowledge, not to be ignorant to say it, that you're ignorant because you use that word. It's that there's ignorance there. There's lack of understanding. There's lack of knowledge. It's fear-based. There's a lot of different, it's sort of like I said earlier about grief, packs a lot of emotion, right? Yeah. There's a lot packed into, and so it's unpacking it and saying, and because when we look at where and unpack it, that's where the opportunities lie in terms of making change. And that woman that day said, I'll never use the word again.
Well, I just made a mental note not to use it myself because I wouldn't want people to think that I was thinking of a stain or a mark on someone's character. I think the reason why people suffer in silence is because conversations like this and conversations that are taking place now that weren't taking place before just weren't happening. So people didn't see the connection between my personal story and my personal experience with mental health, addiction, or suicide with your story. And then when we get to a point where we're sharing information and sharing stories, we find out that this is touching everybody. It's not
100%.
it's not your silo. It's the whole world that's facing this.
100%. And that even there was and he introduced me to the word transfigured. He's a Catholic priest out of Calgary, and who we had a mutual association. His friend that he grew up with and a guy that we were working with, and at the time he did a sermon. I'm not Catholic. I think they're called sermons on suicide. Right at the time that COVID was changing the world.
Yeah.
And he's like, we shut down the world, but the suicide statistics have been far outpacing COVID.
Yeah.
So what's the difference here? Right?
Yeah.
What's the difference? And why that and not here? Right? And part of it is because it has been stigmatized. People don't talk about it. They don't know what to do with all of those feelings and emotions that come up. They don't want to, some really bad things happen to really good families.
Yeah.
Right? That's, and we don't have that because we want to sometimes put them in a box. Oh, that kind of thing. And it's about that. It's like, kick the doors open.
Yeah.
Shine the light on it. Turn the music up. Get the food out.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this.
Right.
Because too, once we do, and we share our vulnerabilities, it's what Dr. Seuss, it's that you too?
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
What, you too? And because to your point, 100% of us. And if you haven't been personally affected by it, you know someone who has.
Yeah.
Right. And if you don't even know someone personally that has, it's in your community. And so you're being impacted one way or another, whether you're conscious and aware of it in the moment and could put a face to it, it's still, the energy's still here.
Yeah. And I think that's really the future. That's where I think we can start making that change, is by having that commonality and even small things, right? Like I think it starts in the workplace of work starting to take mental health and addiction on the same level as a physical I broke a leg kind of situation, like let's take it seriously from all avenues. And you throw out cost, right? I can just see some employers saying, if we did that, do you know how many more sick days we'd have to give? I'm like, isn't that better than having somebody going through a mental health crisis in your place of work?
But I would also challenge that kind of thinking too, saying, 100%. Would you?
Because if you move it upstream,
right? Yeah. Or how many people want to come and work at your place of employment because you've normalized this, and you're an employer of choice because you get it. The other thing about the whole journey is the whole when we say mental and physical health, right? We speak now more in the language of brain health.
Yeah.
Right. I'm a big believer. There's going to come a time when we're distinguishing old school thinkers and new school thinkers by language.
Yeah.
And mental health and addiction. Okay. Yeah. But there is a physiology to it. There's an organ in the body called the brain. And when it isn't working optimally, it can manifest itself in some ways that are not conducive to good, healthy living.
Yeah.
Right. So it isn't, because for me, mental health is kind of like leprechauns and unicorns. Like, okay,
and
maybe.
It's been treated as such.
Absolutely.
100% it's been treated that way.
Right.
It's funny. It's by nowhere near on the same level, but the parallel that I think of is concussions in football. So when I started coaching, actually it started when I was a player. If you got a concussion, it was kind of funny. I don't remember that half of the game, oh, he's a chicken, you know what I mean? Like, and people would joke about it. And then, we saw some real downstream consequences that the cost was too much for the community to bear. So instead of treating the concussions when you're 40 or 50 and your brain has a bunch of holes in it from the proteins that are going wrong, we're fixing it at the beginning of the game. We're teaching coaches how to tackle differently. We're teaching players how to protect themselves. When somebody has a concussion, instead of treating it like a joke, they get removed from the game, and there's a return to play protocol.
It's
that's put
mouth
in
guards
place.
now.
It's mouth guards.
All
it's
of
new
that.
helmets. But
right?
but like I said, fundamentally, we had to go back to the very start and change the way we played football in order to get a better outcome. That the cost wasn't so high.
Yes.
So it can be done.
Absolutely.
It's not impossible.
No. But it takes a paradigm shift in thinking to some degree. And we often have to so the problem is escalating. Then it's like, oh, okay, we need to fix this now. Right. And that's where we are with mental health and addiction, what we now call brain health. Right. Is like, there is a better way. And it's not just about talk therapy. Right. It's not that, one of the things that we've coined, that commercial, what's in your wallet?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I've taken that and kind of coined that and adopted it my own is what's in your toolkit.
Yeah. Right.
And it's about building that personal toolkits for people, because what's in your toolkit will be different than mine. There's some core things that can be helpful. What we have is our professionals have developed what we call a comprehensive treatment evaluation, which when we wear an advocacy hat, thinks it should be the standard. So it's not a psych evaluation. It's not a psychological evaluation. It's a biopsychosocial spiritual, meaning direction or purpose in life.
Yeah.
That should be the starting point. And then counseling for sure, because we can all benefit from that. That's the kind of the hammer and the screwdriver. But then it's empowering people to build their own toolkit. Yeah. It's based on values, your value system, your belief system, your hobbies, the things that grab your intent, football or music or art, or if you're a culture guy, right? It's all of those. Those are things that belong in certain people's toolkits.
And that sense of belonging to a larger community is huge.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge. Yes.
And I find when we start making some of those connections, like you brought up the culture side of it with Airdrie Culture Fest, one of the things we saw was like-minded communities finding each other. And then the next year, that's now like a tighter circle of people who feel a belonging to their own culture. And you can see the change, right? You could see how happy and how proud and how much more of a sense of purpose people have.
And that's community.
Yeah, it absolutely
That's
is.
community.
Yeah.
Yes.
So speaking of communities, you have laid out a model. You've laid out kind of a framework. Is there places that are doing this now? Is there countries that are on the forefront of this, or communities that are pushing this, or which doctors are really the ones who are on the forefront of this?
I was going to say, good question again.
You can. I think we're the number one rated podcast in Airdrie. So out of 3, I think.
So we've been very fortunate in having a relationship, and it's growing all the time, with the University of Calgary. And had some students from the Haskeen School of Business picked us up as their capstone project. And we asked them to go because part of the Brain Center concept is bringing best practices. Yeah. And they went outside the boundaries of Alberta and couldn't find another organization doing what we're doing. And we're creating a future that has not existed yet. That's part of why the boulder's so big and heavy and the side of the mountain is so steep. And so they couldn't find that. The last summer, the Masters of Management students did a slightly different approach to what they were typically doing. So they used to bring in different organizations like Thumbs Up, divide the class, and get them each to do their piece. And what they found was organizations like ours are complex. We don't fit into a box. So it was hard to sort of get below the surface. Yeah. And so what they did as a trial, kind of pilot last year, was they brought in one organization, Thumbs Up, and divided the 40 students into and said, each take a piece. And so we asked them to focus on the brain center concept, which is the future we're trying to create that doesn't exist yet.
Yeah.
And they told us, these 40 really smart, our future's in pretty good hands.
Yeah, that's a pretty smart
Right?
school. A lot of future leaders are coming out of there.
Oh yeah, they're impressive. The only thing they didn't tell was how to take them with us on the journey. But
Yeah.
but what they told is feasible, it's doable, and the value is there, right?
Yeah.
And so it helped us keep on keeping on, right? Because of that, right? So it's last fall, and she'll be happy has given me permission in the past to share her story. I met with a woman who lost her son to suicide. We actually went for lunch at Sorso's. She doesn't live in Airdrie, and in that she had 2 sons and she lost one to suicide. And she said, he's not the son we worried about. And I'm like, no. And she said, no. And the one that we did worry about, she said, we did everything right. We took him to California. We had brain imaging, neurofeed imaging, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, yeah, why is that? And she's like, why is what? I said, why do you have to leave not just your province, but your country?
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to bring here. That's what we're trying to bring here. And not to, and you kind of alluded to earlier as well, not just for mental health and suicide, or what we typically call that, for brain health. So concussions, for stroke victims, for all of that, because they suffered the same thing as people with mental health and addiction, what we currently call, saying, I don't know where to go, I don't know where to start. We've met people with those different, that have those different focus. They're as siloed as what the current system is with mental health. Like, nobody knows. The number one reason where people don't seek help is based on our mental health task force. The feedback that we got there, the number one reason was awareness of where to go. Number 2 was cost. Number 3 was access, and number 4 was a previous bad experience. Right? When you know those things, those are not problems. Those are opportunities for improvement.
They're also not, they're not insurmountable. Those seem like all very reasonable things that are easy to fix, right?
I'd like to think so.
Yeah. It's just time, money, and effort that goes into it.
Right.
So speaking of time, money, and effort, I've been to 2 fundraisers of yours already. Thumbs Up was relatively new to me the last 2 years, so I didn't really have a lot of exposure to it in the past. But I've been to 2 fundraisers now. Music and energy is a big part of them. Tell me what you have on the go. Tell me what's the next thing that we could help you raise some money and get you on your next mission.
Well, what we have on the go is our what we're looking to raise funds for is this initiative with the Veterans Association to build this spoke component and learn what we're going to learn from it, because it's not about changing the system from the top down. It's changing it from in a control environment, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what we are trying to. We will continue to do it with music. We've got Peace in the Park coming up. We will go back to the city. We've had coffee with Mayor Spearman last week and said, we still want you to proclaim September as Resiliency Awareness Month. Our signature event there is Peace in the Park. So we've already started on that. We'll run our songwriting contest again, and all of that. And one of the tag that names for Peace in the Park is Rockin' for a Reason.
Yeah.
Right. And I love that. I didn't coin it, but I love that. And it's kind of more, we identify with it more and more. Part of Peace in the Park as well is, another tagline is Healers, Helpers, and Heroes. So it's recognizing those people in our community who either on a personal level or on an organizational level have been a healer, helper, or hero to someone.
Right.
That have helped them change the trajectory, either on a personal level or within the community level. And so we put that out there and ask for people to make a nomination of someone or something that has been a healer, helper, or hero. And so to honor and recognize that as well, because as we say, we didn't coin it, but not all heroes wear capes.
Yeah.
Right. And so if it could be a random kind of act of kindness. It's to start to change that energy. I mean, we've got this whole doom scrolling world out there and so why are we scratching our heads saying, how come some people can't get out of bed? It's like, do you check what we're feeding everybody?
Yeah. And the world is getting crazier by the second. I mean, it's not an easy place to be observing at the moment.
No. Uncertainty, right?
Yeah.
Nothing is there. The ground under our collective feet is not as solid as it used to feel like it was.
Yeah.
Right. So it's shifting all the time. Where's it going to end? Where's it going to land? Those are unknowns. With uncertainty can come anxiety.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So if somebody wants to find out more information, where do they go?
Well, I just want to qualify this is that our website, www.thethumbsupfoundation.com.
Yeah.
Part of the fine line that we walk is that we're not a service provider, as I said. What we do is we remove cost as a barrier.
Okay.
So we're not looking for people to be reaching out. That's kind of an organic thing.
Sure.
Because our focus is on testing the system and validating the approach to which we do with real people.
Right.
But we're not that service call. If you're in crises or whatever, give Thumbs Up a call. That's not who we are.
Yeah.
Right. So I just want to be clear.
And we'll make
about
sure
that.
to put some contacts in the show notes to make sure that if somebody is in crisis, they know who to reach out to. So
yes. Right.
We'll take care of that.
Okay. Thank you. And because we do have that on our website as
Yeah.
well, is like, that's kind of not. But if anybody wants to, we're running a campaign right now on, we call it Moving the Needle.
Yeah.
Because a report last year, I think it was, or 2024, maybe, from CMHA National, was that in spite of the $51 billion that Canada's paying out each year, or the cost to it, that Canada has not significantly moved the needle.
Yeah.
And we say we are, right? And so what we have a campaign right now that's on our website we're calling it Moving the Needle. And so we're asking people to donate $20.26. Do it online. You get an automatic tax receipt for it.
Right.
And just let's see how many $20.26 we get, because that's grassroots. That's
Right.
creating a movement, right?
So that's our challenge to all of our listeners, to go to thethumbsupfoundation.com and donate $20.26
That would be
to
awesome.
move the needle. Perfect. Kim, Titus, this world and Airdrie is better because you're in it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.